Welcome to the Embodied Wisdom Podcast.
So, Erica, I have to ask you, what was it that led you on this crazy journey of even getting into the healing arts? Because I know so many of us come onto this journey through just really needing it for ourselves. So, what's your story?
Yeah, that's it. I needed it. I needed it. Here's what I'll say my story is. This is where I think it started. Is I was driving one day to a job I did not like,
Oh,
and I remember having the thought, "This is it. This is your life.
hmm.
Don't dream anymore." Like this is it. Truly, I was 28, by the way. Like, and
Like this
so
is as good as it's gonna get, kind of thing.
yeah, like this is
Okay.
as good as it's gonna get. And
Wow.
so I stopped dreaming. And I let it all go. And then at some point I broke, right? Because like there's something inside of you that is calling you forward always. And when I said, no, I don't care. Life kind of sucks. I'll just stick with it.
Mm.
Um,
I'll take the boring road. I'll take the
I'll take the like mundane route, like whatever. Life is life. I'll just suck it up till I die. And then, I mean, which is so crazy, but something inside of me heard that, obviously heard that, and then just kept pressing forward. And I ended up in self-development and doing all these things. And I saw this great speaker. Her name is Karen Kenny. She has no idea how many times I literally quote her on podcast. And she gave a speech and she said, "The world needs saving and God sent you." And I about fell to the floor. Like I was like, I want that. I want that. And that's when I found the Course in Miracles. And once I found a Course in Miracles, my
yeah,
whole
it's
brain
pretty
started to,
cool.
yeah, it started to melt. And so once it melted, I was able to, I mean, it took me 3 times to even actually read more than 5 pages in that book. But once
Mhm.
that started, I could not stop seeing this world as an illusion. I could not like stop trying to understand what that meant. And then I went to
Mhm.
like every healer under the book until I came to the realization that like I'm my own healer.
Yeah.
And from there, it's been like this ride of helping, reminding myself that, and then making sure that everyone else knows that like we do not heal you, you heal yourself.
Yeah. Literally, the source is within you. And all I'm doing is guiding you to you, right?
Yeah.
So tell me who is it that you help and what are the modalities that you have found helpful?
Yeah, I like this question because I'm going to be really candid. I wanted to be the healer that saw auras and that could do Reiki and could see all the like I wanted to be the
You
person.
wanted to be the woo.
I wanted to be all of the woo, right? But like, and like in black and red and purple, not just white. And
Ah,
so that's the healer I wanted to be. I was like, so I'm going to do Reiki and I'm going to do all these things. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I think it's a beautiful thing. For me, my gift is teaching. Like I
uh-huh.
hear things very clearly. If I let myself see too much, I see things too clearly, like in the 3D, and I don't like it.
Give me an example of that.
Oh, you ready?
Mhm.
Okay. Here's me coming out of the full spiritual closet. I was in Redondo Beach at a metabolic conference. I was learning about um, like the keto diet and things like that because I used to work in health. I heard something above my bed, like standing at the foot of my bed. And the
Uh-huh.
window was cracked and I was on like the second floor. So I just thought, oh, maybe someone's like, I don't know, smoking out on the roof.
Uh-huh.
But I really had to pee. And so I was like, I'm not like the window's cracked, like just hold it, right? Like,
Uh,
and so I went back, which is a terrible, like terrible thing to do. But I was so scared that I did it. And then I woke up obviously an hour later, like needing to pee. And when I opened my eyes, there was something at the foot of my bed. And I thought it was a man in a sweater vest, like man in a sweater vest, bold. And I was convinced this was it. I'm going to die. I thought to myself, I'm going to die at a metabolic conference in Fernando Beach, California. I couldn't wrap my
huh.
head around what was happening. But then I realized it was like all gold around. So it was like all gold around. So it took me a minute and I was like, oh, this isn't real. But he's walking towards me. Like, wait, there I could still die. And he walked right through me. And
Mm.
I said, I never again. Never again. Because I've had a positive. I've seen like light and felt like angels and things like that. But when that happened, I was like,
That
shit.
didn't feel positive to you?
No, because I he was at the foot of my bed, breathing over me.
And it didn't feel safe to you.
It didn't feel safe. It was safe. Here's what's wild is it was safe, right? But it didn't feel safe because I hadn't invited it in and I hadn't expected it.
Yeah.
And it was my first true experience with the veil fully dropped.
Yeah. And it wasn't fully dropped because, only a small portion of our soul can even
Right.
be squeezed into this body, for lack of a better word. Like we only take a tiny bit of our oversoul into this form, right? So, but I hear what you're saying. If you're not ready, if you have not, because I think what I'm hearing, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's some people on their spiritual journeys that they want to get to a place where they're not ready yet, right? And
Yes.
so you think, oh no, show me the angels, show me like all of it, and then you get it, you're like, ah, So if you haven't done enough development in
That's right.
you're just not ready. It's like people trying to like jump steps. And I notice this all the time with my clients is they're like, get me to the place where I'm just healed. And I'm like, that's not really the way it works. You are going to feel like you're on this journey until you pass out of that meat suit. You're going to feel like that because there'll be multiple layers. We're dealing with epigenetics that goes back 7 generations. So you're not just going to feel like I'm healed most of the time. Most of the
Yeah.
time, people don't feel that. And if they feel that, it doesn't remain. So, what are the modalities that you find helpful? Ooh, 11:11, my time. What are the modalities that you really like to work with when it comes to your clients?
Yeah. So I love for me it's theta healing. So I love using theta healing for
Tell me
it.
about that.
Yeah, so theta healing works with multiple planes, and so it's the idea behind that. Again, this is theta healing, right? Seven planes, seventh is God consciousness. Healing happens on the God consciousness. So like the goal is to get up there, be with that love, and then shift internal beliefs and things like that in real time through that. So it bypasses a lot of like spirit guides and like shamanism and things like that. And so it really works. You can call it the quantum, you can call it God consciousness, whatever you want. You
Hmm.
call it up there to hear what's really happening inside of somebody's being, and then you pull it out from the current lifetime, past lifetimes, um, ancestry, and then soul stuff.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, send it up to God's light. My language is God, source spirit, I don't care, And then you bring in new beliefs. So I do a lot of that. And then I hear a lot. So I wouldn't call myself a medium, but I work with a lot of the things that we cannot see, right? Including myself. And so we'll just hear
Well, if you're
things.
tapping into their subconscious and you're going in, because I do something very similar with quantum healing. I created the modality myself, so I literally don't have anything to call it except for quantum healing. But
Yeah.
it's similar as in we're kind of going outside of their perspective and I'm putting them in a slight state of hypnosis.
Sure.
But we're going in and we're shifting on the belief level. So I do something very similar. I love your wording though, and I love what you're saying because, like I said, I just started doing this intuitively. I'd go into
Hmm.
someone's field and I kind of just read what they needed and I went with that. So it was no one else's training, it was just simply my own. But I started to notice that as I trusted that more things started to develop and it went deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
So I love the language that you're using where you're talking about kind of getting out of this. I see it as the ego, this personality based with this lineage, this DNA, right? That they got downloaded with. Here, boop, moment of conception, all dad's DNA, mom's DNA, all their wounding, everything they
Yeah.
didn't deal with becomes their inheritance. Yes.
Yeah.
And so they don't even realize it till they become adults and all these patterns are forming and relationships. And they're like, hey, how did this get like this? Well, that's when we look at the pattern, we trace it back, and it doesn't even come in through their lifetime. So, what you're talking about is stepping outside of all that, taking it up to a higher dimension or a higher frequency or a bird's eye view, however you want to look at it, and then shifting shit around like
Yeah,
beliefs and programming and
totally.
patterns, and then bringing in the new. Hey, Tammy Cox here. If you're ready to stop repeating painful relationship patterns and finally create the love and connection you deserve, there is a way. Click the link in the description to schedule a call with me, and let's talk about what's really holding you back. Now, back to the show.
Yeah. And then the other modality I use, I will tell you, it's very simple. Like we've all done it. We call it coaching. And I know that that sounds so silly, but what I love is like, I'm not here for, we're going to hang out for 45 minutes, 60, 90 minutes. We're just sitting, helping you literally say the things that like have been kept in you. And I think you know this when you hold space truly with love and truly with the intent that like you are as perfect as I like as perfect as you are. Like you are truly this perfect whole being, and I can see you like that, and I hold space for that.
Mm-hmm.
The things that are willing to come out of someone from a subconscious level to see and to be released, we're like, we need to do almost nothing, right? They can go into spontaneous, and it's not quite spontaneous, but you get what I'm saying. Like the spontaneous Shakti movement, like they say something and they're coughing, they're moving, like
Yep.
just holding enough space.
The body has this response
Yeah.
to the energy. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like sitting in love and saying, I love you, say whatever you want here. We that is what all these modalities truly are, you
Yeah.
know? And sometimes you don't need to be fully like you don't need this training or this name of it. Like
Right.
if you can show up and do that, the amount of healing that people can have is truly mind-blowing.
I know. That, and I think as we all, because trust is such a big piece that I see with my clients when it really comes down to it, their issue is that they don't trust themselves. So the intuition, I'm like, everyone has it, right? We all have this thing called intuition. Sure, most of us got ours shut down in childhood,
Sure.
by the programming, but it's like we have the ability to bring it back, tune ourselves to it, but they don't trust it. It's like when your alarm bells go off and they're like, that is not a good person for you. And they're like, no, I can make it work. They have all this shit that goes on top of it. And you're like, no, you don't get it. Why would you do that? You're,
Yeah.
if you're so brilliant and you're so beautiful and you're perfect exactly how you are, then why would you lower yourself or allow someone in your field, in your life that doesn't hold you at that level?
Yeah, I mean, I know we both know all the reasons why, right? And I think it's just important to call out that it's okay if you did, girl. Like it's okay if you
Yeah.
did. Like
Hello.
we all did it, right? Because I think what happens on this journey, what I see is people become what like healaholics is what I'll call it, a
Yes.
healaholic, because they're constantly beating themselves up instead of saying, "Oh, this thing happened and I can
Yeah.
try again." Oh, my intuition, I heard it. I didn't listen because I was scared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some work to trust my intuition to make it safe, like to really hear myself and follow through. I'm going to do that work. But instead we just so and I did it too, right? We're on this we get on this loop where we're just like, "Oh my
Absolutely.
God, I screwed up.
It's the
I
shame
need a
loop.
healer." It's the shame loop.
The shame is the first thing I try to eliminate. I think it is one of the most toxic, along with unforgiveness. I think it's one of the most toxic, and they kind of go hand in hand. It's like we gotta break up with judgment towards yourself, judgment towards others. We have to break up with the judgment. Can we let it go, please?
Yeah, I would. The thing I want to start to, what I have been saying, I should say, is we want to break up with it, and first we have to accept it. And I'm sharing this, which I know you know, but I feel like it's such an important piece because a lot of times what I see happen in this like the healaholics or the shame.
Like I've never heard that one, so it's good.
Yeah, I'm coining it here, guys.
Okay.
But what we do, right, is we go awareness, dissect this, search for a healer or a solution, and then we get lost when really how it should go, and we see this with like Buddhist yogis, everybody's told us this, is we go awareness, acceptance, alignment.
We
When we
could,
can do
right?
that,
That sounds
we
simple.
it and it
Why would we
is.
make it that simple on ourselves? We love the challenging roads.
Yeah. It's like, well, my mom told me this, and that's why I feel it's. And listen, there's a time and place for it. But what happens is we get so freaking lost in it. We get
Yeah.
so obsessed with that thing that we run to everybody else and say, like, fix me, fix me, fix me.
Yeah.
But you're like, it's like, babe, but you're perfect. So
Yeah.
your job is actually to remove everything that ever made you feel like you weren't. And we'll help you with that. But
Yeah,
like,
and to remind yourself that you are perfect. Like you
yeah,
have to you and but it's the same thing with the shortcuts. Like I see us ascending, right? We're on this ascension journey and we're changing so rapidly, so fast.
yeah,
And I see people going from, say, talk therapy, recognizing, okay, talk therapy is not as if that was the effectiveness back in the day before we had all this updated science about how trauma works, how our DNA stores trauma in the body, all this new science stuff we didn't know back in the day. So things are shifting fast, and that's why people are running to healers like us because they're recognizing, okay, I've had so many people say to me, I've been in counseling and therapy for years, and you did for me in one session what I haven't gotten in those 12 years because they're reaching for the next step. And I think that's just a part of our journey now. I don't think it's going to be the healing in the future. I think the healing in the future is going to be exactly what you said, going straight to the like receptiveness. Okay, the awareness, you're instantly there. But now, this journey that we had to go on, which is wrapping up, is just that.
mm,
Right. But and as I see the masculine rising, I think their healing journey is going to be so freaking fast and quantum that
mm.
it is just going to shift everything up in this level of like, whoa, what just happened? How do you see that going? And if we can go into the relationships piece, because what I'm seeing with a lot of healers
Mm.
is they're single, not able to find love, and they're such an emotional snob that they're not going to take just anything. They're
Yeah.
really going to allow only the cream of the crop. And those boys have not met us where we're at yet. So, what are you seeing in the relationship world?
I'm just laughing because I'm married and I have two little girls and
Uh-huh.
I love them dearly, all of them. But what
Uh-huh.
I'm witnessing, and I do feel very fortunate, is that like a lot of women who are doing this work, a lot of women who are waking up, a lot of women who are taking these steps, they're like, I need you to get it together or I'm
Yeah.
out. Like, or I'm out. And I am lucky. I have a partner who goes to like men's groups, like who
So
goes to like
beautiful.
ceremonies, right?
So you guys have been able to heal together. Yeah, I would totally want to get into this. He's
Yeah.
met because I'm married too. I've been with my husband 19 years and
Wow.
he's met me. He hasn't gone to men's groups yet. I would love for him to get to that level. He hasn't matched me as far as his healing journey in what he like he's just not open to all of it, but he is doing the inner work within himself. And so he's it just takes that openness to be like, hey, I'm willing to look in, right? But I love that your husband goes to the men's circles and stuff because I think that is brilliant for men. Tell me about it.
Yeah, and it was pushed, right? I was like, get it to like these,
Yeah,
get it
that was
together.
you.
Like
Yeah.
I'm too far along in this journey, and I don't think I had that language at the time, but I was like, I'm too far along in this journey, and I have two little
Yeah.
girls, and like I'm doing my absolute best, right? I'm at my parents' house right now, hence all of the background looking the way it looks, which is great, but it's like my I'm we're gonna take on whatever we show them. And
Yeah.
so I need you to get it together and
Mhm.
do this. But it's really been an interesting thing to watch because I do believe, because of the work that I've done on myself, I do believe his changes are happening faster because we're in a house where it's like accepted. Because here's the thing, I'm with you that there's a lot of healers that are single, but I'm also going to say there's a lot of healers who, and I did this, love to be a victim in their relationships and love to have the moral high ground. And so
Oh,
some
you
of
are
it is,
so dead on balls
ye-
there.
so it's like, and I did it. Okay, sometimes still do because I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
And this is the piece because relationships, what I find is they're going to show you your stuff.
You're a
I
very
believe
close mirror, girl. It's
the
like, woo!
closest outside of a child, I don't know anything closer where you're just like, this is my stuff, this is my stuff, this is my stuff.
Woo! No,
And
I'm with you, Erica. I tell people this is my opportunity. There's no greater teacher than marriage. It is not going to make you, it is there to grow you and it's so challenging, but the reason why it's challenging is because you're facing you everywhere,
I was like,
you know?
where's this twin flame that y'all talk about? Like,
Yeah.
I want one of those. I
Oh,
didn't get
twin
that.
flames are they're the most challenging from what I've heard
Yeah,
because
that's
they're
true. Yeah.
like, anyways, I think we have to, like you said, change our idea of what they're there to do for us. Because
Hmm.
it was the same thing for me when I had my first child 16 years ago and I held her in my hand. I was like, I can't fuck her up the way I can't do
That's
that.
right.
And so I did the same thing with my husband where I was like, hey, either you're going to be on this healing journey with me or we're just not going to stay together. But I know that I can't do what has been done to me. Like, I will not fucking do that. So they were the reason. I have three daughters, by the way.
Mhm.
They were the reason why that I chose this for myself, you know?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was talking to someone earlier and they said something along the lines of like, you have to choose it for yourself. And I do believe that. But I'll tell you, nothing was more of a swift kick in the ass to get my gears in motion than my girls. When that second one came out, because I have two, that second one came out and I was like, yeah, you're gonna have to literally walk your talk. Like, because my parents were great. And my goal is to not fuck up my kid the way I got fucked up, right? The
Yeah.
goal is like for less therapy, less all of this stuff. And I can see in them the innate joy that is available to all of us. My daughter has been listening to Donna Summers, and a lot of
I
like
don't know
Soul
who that
Train.
is.
You don't know who that is, or you?
I mean, it's a
It's
recognizable
old school.
name.
It's yeah, like my mom loves the 70s. So it's like
Oh,
Diana
cute.
Ross, Donna
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Summers, like
yeah.
Soul
Okay.
Train. So like they're out there clapping, just 1 year old clapping because I have a
Oh,
three,
you have
almost 4 year old and a 1 year. I have
tinies.
tinies, and I'm watching the joy,
Yeah. Oh,
and
they're
I
so pure at that age, girl. Ugh, if I could go back there, they're so freaking pure. And I learned so much from their little pure beingness.
yeah, and I think that they've been a big push. I know they've been a big push because they I think are your greatest mirror, but the marriage it's now it's a like it's a true choice, right, to
Yeah.
stay. And so this journey I will say has been really interesting because I live in Colorado, so it's got, we're a little bit more progressive. We got a little like this stuff is quite normalized, but I do think in order to get that partner, right, you have to be so honest with yourself about what you need and so honest with them about it. Um, and that takes a lot of healing because while it is the safest place I have, it's also the scariest thing to quote unquote potentially lose, right? And so that I think is what makes the dialogue sometimes so challenging.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
I find it all interesting, like, especially doing this podcast, meeting so many healers that are like looking for their soulmates and in this place of like wanting this thing. And so the way I see it is we're just in this place in history where marriage, the way that it has been, is dissolving, I think.
Mm,
And it's going to give birth to a new relationship. It's not that we don't crave, I think everyone craves that sort of one monogamous partner that they could spend, a big chunk of their existence with, because that's where the growth is.
mm,
Relationships are growth, but when you become one, the act of becoming one, this marriage binding where you're creating beings together, you're merging lives completely, it offers you an amount of growth that no other relationship can offer. But I think it has to change because when it ends, it's like you said, it feels like this crazy loss. It feels like death to people because of the structure that we created. So that's what I see changing moving into the future,
Hmm.
where it's not going to be this catastrophic. It'll be more like, hey, I bless you to go on your way. I'm going to go my way. It's not going to be this horrible, life-shattering event for everyone involved anymore. I think it's going to have to move to that as we up level our relationships. What do you think?
Yeah, it's the conscious uncoupling. We made fun of Gwyneth and Chris Martin so long ago when they consciously uncoupled, and it's like, no, that's what we want to be doing. And when you look back, right, to Native American culture, that was
Right.
very, we could have gone that way. Like it was very
Totally.
normalized to do that.
I think
And
we're getting back to more of the tribal that I mean they say like remote viewers say that we're going to be going more to tribal way of living, designed for like the family is going to go back to that, and I think it's so beautiful.
I'm half Filipino, and so the multiple aunts, the multiple uncles, like the ate, like it is such a beautiful way to grow
Oh,
up.
Filipinos do family so beautifully. I remember meeting some big and they y'all get together. It's like it's so warm.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
beautiful.
And with the developing country, all those things, like you can shit all over whatever you want to, right? You can have all your own opinions. I don't care. But what I do think is really beautiful is that there is a reliance on one another. And the community aspect has been really lost, which is why I do think people run to healers. Um, so like why people are loving the healer movement because it's part of the community. Like we literally sit there and listen to you. like
Yeah.
like we're not in there interrupting or doing all this. We're there to be with you
And to
as
hold
you
space.
and the
Yeah.
whole space. And we used to have that in these communities, which is why, to your point about marriage having to shift, is we made that person everything. And when you look at
Mhm.
these tribal communities, you have friends and friends for different things and colleagues for different things, and you have a whole community. So that the loss of a partner is a loss of it's not a loss of love. It's loss more of like the physical, right? And the day to
Right.
day. Um, because you have the love around you and you're continuing to have the love with your partner. Because if you have kids, you have to figure it out. You
Yeah.
cannot, I mean, you can, we see it all the
Mhm.
time, but it's not the
People are.
best way to
Yeah.
go about it. Especially when you consider that you really did love, like romantically love that person in some
Well, I
capacity.
think what makes it challenging when they part ways is that both are blaming the other.
Hmm.
And so the kids feel that energy
Yeah.
just, it's so intense for the kids to feel the parents' energy, their hate for the other person, their blame for the other person. And it's like, if you knew that it really isn't the other person that you're hating, but you're really, I mean, everyone knows it. They all say it, but then you see their behavior and you're like, yeah, but you are hurting your kids so deeply with this.
It- we forget things when we're in fear. We just
We
forget
do.
everything. I went to a protest, which I don't know why. I decided every 5 years I can go to a protest.
Oh, how
Um,
nice.
it was horrible, like for my energy. It took me a day to recoup, because it was things I believed, right? Things I could get behind, I should say. But there was so much hate in the push for
Yeah.
love, for inclusivity, for all these things. And I'm like, you don't get more love through more hate. But once we get in that fear mode, whatever, which manifests as hate and these different things, we just can't think straight because we're trying to think, right? Instead
Well,
of,
the challenge is that we don't see these other human beings as ourselves.
hmm.
All of life is connected, and all pain comes from this idea that we're not the other. Like we are literally all woven together in this tapestry of creation. And when we forget that is when we become barbaric and push against. And so yeah, it makes sense why you felt so heavy after. In fact, that leads me into I'm imagining you deal a lot with the nervous system. because that's such a huge part of healing is really being very conscious and mindful of the nervous system, healing that so that you have that 0 point, that like that neutral.
Mm,
That's what I see peace as, is this neutral place within the body where it doesn't matter what's happening externally, I'm choosing my emotional state
mhm,
right here on purpose. There could
mhm,
be a storm, there could be a freaking shooting around me, and my set point is going to be right here in neutral,
mhm,
which is, I know for most people, they just can't even fathom that.
mhm.
But what is the role in like the body and the nervous system for you when dealing with your clients?
That's a really good question. And I do a lot of sound healing. So it's another modality I work with a
Ooh.
lot is sound. And getting someone to feel safe is the foundation of a lot of this change, right? And so the nervous system is such a necessary part. And so whether it is breathing, whether it is sound, whether it is space to just be. And I mean that in, this, your clients will come in sometimes and they're pissed. Like life has lifed, right? And they're just going, just not trying to correct, not trying to stop, just space for the moment to be. Like it's huge because the work for change to happen has to be right here. And to be right here, we have to be the emotions, quote unquote, that we normally like, that are our true nature. So it's the peace, the calmness, the joy. And so bringing someone into the state of safety for me is the only way, my end, that we can really foster the co-creation of healing together. And the beautiful thing is, with enough presence, you can bypass some of the other modalities, right, to do that. But if we can't because you went to a protest, for instance, like it's okay to need a little sound. It's okay to need a little breath work. It's okay. But the nervous system has to be looked at because we are a soul having a human experience. And I personally, this is my work. I get very frustrated when people are like, I live in the 5D, I live in the 5D, I live in the 5D. I'm like, well, you came here to play a game. So, like, you came here to play the game. So,
And I'm sorry, but no one's living in the 5D here. I like when people say this kind of stuff to me, I internally laugh a little bit. It's see, I come from the religious world before I
mm,
wasn't. That was where I spent the good first 40 years of my life.
yes.
So here I stand now and I see it the same where these people come into this and they have this pride in it, right?
Mhm,
And yet that doesn't grow us. It's really being the students
mhm.
is what grows us, not by being the know-it-all that's like, oh, don't tell me I live in the 5D 24/7. I don't even know why I came here. Like that kind of shit is so dumb. Like you don't. I'm sorry, you just don't. We wouldn't even be able to see you. I wouldn't personally be able to see you if you lived in the 5D
Yeah,
ever.
and you missed the point. If that's what you're like, one, you've missed the whole point, right? Which was to come here and have a human experience. But
I'm
like,
so glad no one has ever said that to me because I would probably laugh.
oh,
Probably would laugh, girl.
well, when I started this, like when I came out of the spiritual or started to come out of the spiritual closet, right? So you go to these different ceremonies and people will say these different things. And I was so I went to Joe Dispenza while I was 7 months pregnant. And
Ooh,
yes,
that was probably magical as hell.
it was amazing. It was so wild. There's a pineal gland meditation and it starts at
Uh-huh.
3:30 and it's 4 hours long. And you're not allowed to leave. If you leave, you have to go into a different room and to do to finish it out. It's just, it is just what it is. And I had a couple people I was with, because you meet people there, and they're like, Erica, just like manifest it. Like, just believe it. And I literally was like, I have a 7-month-old baby in me. And my kids tend to be really low. And I'm like, that bitch was on my bladder. Like, it just was living
Oh.
there. And so I remember very clearly
Oh, she's trying to tell you don't get up to go to the bathroom.
it, it
Pee your
went
pants.
pee your pants. And so what I did, because you could get like little medical tags, right? And I went, and I'll never forget this. I loved this woman from the Joe Dispenza conference, one of the workers there. She goes, I go, hi, I'm clearly pregnant.
Knocked up.
And I really want to do this pineal gland meditation. I'm I'm telling you right now, I can't imagine a world or a scenario in which I don't have to pee within 4 hours. And she cackled. She like threw her head back and laughed. And she goes, "Girl, we're living in the 3 and the 5D. Like, of course you're gonna have to pee." And she went and she got me a tag and she put it on. And she was like so sweet about it. And it just reminded me how much these conversations are needed because when you get into this space and you're newer into this space or even midway into this space, you forget like what we're doing here. And it's the thing I want to say is like usually what's keeping most people broke, like straight up from like a healing perspective, but also it's like we we are here to experience so much. And if you keep saying you live there and you're not part of this, then how can you really help people who are really feeling into the matter, right? Like matter, like they're really feeling like this is real and you've got to help connect them to what's true. And you can't when you run around pretending that you
Yeah.
don't
People are
experience the human
interesting.
experience.
People are
People are,
very interesting. People are interested. I mean, sometimes I just listen to myself and I'm like, what the hell was I just saying? Like, what? It's like you drop into a personality for a second. I don't know. We are all interesting and we are all on our journey, but yeah, I won't say that there hasn't been times where I was puffed up with pride. I won't say that. And yet we have our very real, very perspectives. It's like this prescription I'm wearing is just all the beliefs that I hold, all the perspectives, all that, and we each have a very different prescription, right? And so when someone tries to be like, "Yeah, I live in the 5D." I mean, do you even know what that is? Like, do you know what that is? I don't believe that any human mind can fully even grasp what the 5D or the realms and then when you listen to very, very wise people, you have to always listen with a grain of salt because they have their different prescription on. And so the words that they use and the way they see it is not going to be identical to this guy or this guy or this guy. They all have truth. They
mm,
all have a perception of truth. But if you take that for 100% like facts, kind of like which when Jesus spoke in parables and it confused everyone, but it was for a purpose. It was because
yeah.
there wasn't a clear message. It was for interpretation purposes. And so we all are so vastly different that just our communication has to be it's interesting because we just don't see things exactly the same.
Yeah, there's a thousand paths to God, right? There's a thousand paths home. And
Millions. Well, how
like
many people? Like 4 billion on the planet? So 40
so 4 billion.
billion.
Yeah, yeah. And it's have been studying the Self-Realization Fellowship, which is Yogananda's teachings.
Oh, okay. What's it
Yeah,
called?
Self-Realization
Okay.
Fellowship. And it is, to your point about like the evolution, it was very helpful at the time. When I read it now, it's extremely dogmatic. Like
Oh,
I read it and there's so much goodness. And I'm not here to knock Yogananda, but it's
right.
like there's so much goodness in it. And it worked really well for the place that it was, and you can take a lot of good information, but if you hold on to it
If you stay
now,
there. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't work because I grew up Catholic, so
Talk
um
about dogmatic.
talk about dogmatic. Um, which is why I love Jesus so much. Like why I love the Course in Miracles. It's like it speaks to me because it allows me to like reclaim Jesus, right? Like be in
Yes.
that space,
Yes.
focusing on the resurrection instead of the crucifixion and what that means. And but it's so interesting, right? The evolution of humanity because I loved Ram Dass. I loved like Baba, like these gurus, they all had a
Yeah.
place. And a lot of the people that I love had, and a lot of my mentors had gurus. And a lot of my mentors will be like, okay, now I'm 70. Didn't need it. Right. But
Yeah.
it was what needed for that
Yeah.
part of our journey. Like their part,
Yeah.
like that, this part of humanity needed it. And now they're on the other side. And I think that's very indicative of a lot of our journeys, right?
Mhm.
as humans having this experience is like we needed all these things up to here, and then we switch, shift, and evolve and go. And that's the beautiful thing I do think about healing is like the more and more you get this, the faster and faster you heal, and like the less and less time, because we want a quantum leap, but when we can handle it. Like to your point of at the beginning, I wanted to see things and I wanted to do this. I wasn't ready. I kept saying it. I was at a
Mhm.
fucking metabolic conference. I was not out of the spiritual closet. Like I I didn't know what to do with that. And I said
Yeah.
I wanted it. And then I got it. And then I slept with the lights on for 2 years. You know what I mean? Like I
Yes.
wasn't ready.
Yes. But it probably really launched you into something greater. Like it probably had a real, even though it's scary, like those things that feel so hard and so scary to our human, you know, physical mind are so great for us spiritually,
Yeah.
right? When you look at these things that happened in the Bible, those spiritual encounters, um, you're just like, whoa, like Moses in the burning bush. Like if you, he could have been tripping on some mushrooms. Like, when I look back now, I'm like, there was some other stuff going on that's not fully like I haven't, because I came from religion like you, but
Yeah.
I studied the Bible my whole life. And so and then I got in, as I expanded out, I started getting into, ancient text that wasn't in our form of the Bible that they,
Mhm.
purged out and purged through. Do you know who Dolores Cannon is?
I know of Dolores Cannon. I've seen a couple videos.
Okay. So she's basically she does past life regression.
Hmm.
She's on the other side now, but she did past life regression. In fact, she taught Q8 Q2, oh my gosh, quantum, I don't know, past life regression. She teaches it. She wrote a whole bunch of books on information because she loved the history that came through these past
Hmm.
lives. And so she had one that I highly recommend,
Okay.
highly, Jesus in the Essenes.
Yep. I'm gonna write that down.
You have to listen to, I listen to my books, but read it or whatever. It is crazy, right? So she got a lot of information about all sorts of different times in history and beyond, things that haven't happened yet, in the future. But her books are just, I'm so hooked on all of it. But yeah, I would definitely recommend that if you love Jesus.
Yeah, I already wrote it down. She's Hay House author, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love anything that has to do with Jesus. I talk with my dad about this a lot. Is this might offend anyone who's religious, but too late for that on my end. So it's
They would trust me, girl. They
they're
ain't listen to
they're
this.
listen to this
They
is
ain't
that
listen to
religion
this.
is very much a geographical thing, right? Because
Yeah.
when you really do look at the stuff, like Abraham didn't start one religion, he started two. Jesus
He
is
actually started three.
three. That's right. He started three. You're right. And Jesus is what the third like the third biggest prophet in Islam. Like we have commandeered
Yeah.
the like
They've all claimed Jesus. And I mean, everywhere. Like he just, yes, I hear you.
And what I want, jeweler who is listening to this, who happens to be spiritual, um, I would love something for Jesus that's not a cross that I could wear. That's like, I love Jesus, but like the Jesus that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I've been trying to look and I'm like, outside of a baby
Maybe you
Jesus,
get to create it.
maybe
Come
me.
on. I think your creativity is stirring in there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
No, but then also just we get so wrapped up in the physical and tangible. Just where the Old Testament was like, don't make any idols in any images, it's like, and that's exactly what they did with Jesus. All the relics, all the images, and now Jesus himself didn't say anything about that. This is more like Old Testament, but they're like, stop making the graven images.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We're just human being over here. And that's largely because the when I don't know how far down the rabbit hole you want to go, but our DNA has been tampered with, right? I mean, we look at the Old Testament where the Anunnaki came down, where it talks about angels intermixing with humans, and that's where Goliath came from that breed of giants, right? And we know that giants did exist because they're finding and trying to hide their bodies. But even the Bible talks about how our blood was tampered with by extraterrestrials. And yet you go to church and they really ain't talking about that from the pulpits, are they? They're leaving that stuff all the way out. But we're not, we have had strands of our DNA literally unplugged because they wanted us to worship out something outside of ourselves in order for their agendas to, in order for us to be slaves to their agenda. So here we are, we're still slaves to their agenda, less and less, right? But here we are working until we die to create it in this system of fear of like, and them, when I say them, I'm not really even sure who the them is, right? Whether it's
Thank you for
human,
clarifying. I was like, who is them
yeah,
in
I'm
your
not
eyes?
sure if it's a
Yeah.
physical or
Yeah.
non-physical they, them, but I do know that, we have been slaves to they, them, because we're still not living our human existence, meaning humans as the whole be, we're
Yeah.
still run by their system. Hey, you got to work, you got to do this till you die, then you can retire and enjoy yourself for a couple years, and then back to the sauce. And we're still on that program, but I believe we're waking up and we're saying, wait, why are we working? Wait, why are we doing this thing we hate? Why are we doing this thing we hate? Why are we doing all this shit we hate?
Mm.
We're waking up to that now. At least a large majority of us are. And I believe that in our kids' lifetime, it's going to be almost everyone who's like, what? Why are we doing any of this?
Listen, these Gen Zs, like, so Course in Miracles, I love the explanation you went into because in for Course in Miracles, they literally just go, they, they,
They,
um, they just go, all fear exists because we believe we're separate from God.
Mhm.
Like, that's it. No other explanation. And I think that there are thousands of explanations. But I will say, so I love that. I was like, oh, okay, all right. In my head, I'm just like, she's right, like at the core, but there's a thousand paths, like right, 4 million paths or 4 billion paths to get there. Um, but these Gen Z kids, they get it. Like, I will tell you one,
Mhm.
I was like laughing because I put on some crew socks today and I was like, we gonna try it. Like, we're gonna step in. But these Gen Zs, like, I don't hate them. Like, oh, they're so lazy.
They're
Listen,
disrupting all of it,
they
all
get
the
it.
program.
They get it, and they're having fun on like all jokes aside on their fashion, they're having fun. Like, right? Like, they're putting patterns together. They're like not creating an identity around work. They're
Yeah.
unplugging from the matrix, and it's breaking everyone's brain because they like those of us who are millennial or older were told plug in, right? That's why the matrix was so that
Yeah.
movie was so disruptive, is like it was the first time collectively any of us had a thought that maybe that's what's happening. Maybe that's what's happening. And a
So
lot.
many people in the spiritual communities are reference the Matrix.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just well, and now we have physics kind of saying the same thing. Like we are in a simulation. This stuff that all looks very real and very physical is actually not, and we're not actually touching anything. And it just blows your mind. You're like, how could that be? Because I feel this thing right here. Like
I
feels
know.
quite tangible, like it's weighted and everything
Yeah.
weighs different things. Like this isn't real, but in physics, it's not real. This isn't a thing.
99.9 of it is just space, right?
Yeah, and then well, yeah, it's just wild. So, and then quantum physics and it's just like whenever you study these things, you're just like, but it just confuses the crap out of me. My physical brain just wants to explode and say, well, what the hell is actually real? Is any of it real? Because your experience is so different from mine.
Hmm.
Everyone's experience is so different where they even say we're not even perceiving the colors the same. Like nothing.
Yeah. Do you feel this way? This is how I feel. Is like all of the stuff breaks your brain. All of it. When you think about it with your human brain. But the moment I shut up, get quiet, and like sit, whether it's the quantum, the consciousness with God, it all makes sense, but I can never get the words out. But I hear all the reasons it makes sense. But but I almost can't explain it, you know? And then I hit this point where I'm like, I don't have to. Thank God. All I have to do is know what I know and keep moving forward.
Yeah. Beautiful, darling. Absolutely lovely. And it's like, for me, that practice is like dropping it into my heart, taking it from my
Hmm.
brain. I almost think about like getting in my brain, getting in an elevator and dropping it into my heart, putting it in there. And then I realize, oh, none of that really fucking matters from my heart's perspective. My heart really doesn't fucking care if any of it's real. Like, it's just like, ah, you know?
Today, I will tell you, I was like spinning out a little bit, and I watch Amy Poehler's podcast now. It is so funny. It is so funny. And she was with Martin Short. And yes, exactly. And then I started watching all the Jiminy Glick episodes of Martin Short, it's a character he makes that is just like so inappropriate and funny. And I started like laughing, like to the point where people were looking at me in the gym because I was like had a water in my mouth and was like almost spitting it out. Like some of the stuff was like so hilarious. And and as I was like doing a cryo chair, like sitting before I was leaving, like I literally heard, "Do you want to understand why you're spinning?" And I was like, "Fine, fine," because I'd been in such a good mood, you know, like you know when you pull yourself out, and I just heard like it's not that deep. Like to your point, like when my brain said, "Boo doo 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 doo," let's go to your heart. Just let it, like, just have fun.
Yeah.
It's nothing like we don't care the way that you care. You think that what you do, like, yes, your present creates your future, blah blah blah, all that stuff, but it's also not that deep. It's almost never that deep. I said this to someone today also, is like if we could just all focus on feeling good. If we just said, I'm
Yes.
just gonna feel good. You could put down every podcast, every book, everything. You could not go to a healer ever again. If you just promised yourself for the next 3 months, I'm gonna focus on feeling good. Everything would literally change
Everything would shift
because you'd be
because
living from
your
your heart.
emotions is creating everything. Identity creates a belief, belief creates the thought creates the emotion creates the circumstance of your life. If you change your emotions, shit, you could live the most magical experience. But oftentimes what I find with people, because I tried to do that, but there was a lot of shit I had to clear out too.
Sure.
I had to really clear out the shadows. Like I believe that the shadow work for most people, not everyone, is very necessary. We got to clear out the shit because most people are carrying a lot of pain in their vehicle, in their apparatus that they're unaware of. And so we got to get, in order to get you to that 0 point, for a lot of people, I'd argue most, we got to start pulling that pain out.
And I agree. I think what ends up happening though is that most people keep trying to pull out pain. And there's a point where you could just put
Stop.
everything down. Yes, stop. And
Stop doing that.
because that stuff is necessary. We do have to remember, like, we do have to wake up. We have to do all those things. And we hit this point where, like, we have the option to just do what that 75th book that we just read said,
Yes.
or we could pick up a 76th, right? And like most people are like, you know what? I'll just pick up one more book. And it's like, just put all of your shit down and just try to be happy
Yeah.
for 3 months. Because then you can come back to someone like you or me and we can help you on why you weren't. But guess what? Your nervous system capacity to hold happiness has exponentially increased. So your
Yes.
ability to heal then speeds up.
Yep. No, I agree. Both are very, very necessary. And there's times I've really questioned that because we want the pain. The pain is good.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, do you have to go? I know
Mm-mm.
we're at the top of the
Mm-mm.
hour.
No.
Pain is good, but most people don't see it for the good that it is. The pain is very, very motivating. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be doing what I do now if I wasn't motivated by all the pain, all the shit that I lived. I had to go through that. I believe it with all of my being. I believe I chose the childhood, the parents, all
Mhm.
the pain in that, in my lineage. I believe that I chose it on purpose before I ever came here.
Yeah.
I believe that I chose it to wake me the F up because I needed a nice slap in order for me to get on my path to do what I do now. And if my childhood was like this, I wouldn't be doing what I do. If it was just like flatlining, not much going on, not highs, not lows, just like I wouldn't be doing this, right? I had to walk through the fire. I had to live in the hell, right? In order for me to be like, I'll walk with you through it. Like, hold my hand. I'll take you. So, anyways, that's just the way I see it.
Uh, I'm just gonna what is it? What did the kids do? The plus one? Like co-signing, all of
Oh, yeah.
that. Like I I do. I believe we chose this experience. I believe that all of these things are true, which is why I think when you understand that on your walk, it can become fun. Like it doesn't have to be as heavy and oh man, really? I fucking chose that because I went left instead of right here? Okay, because I knew I
Yeah.
was supposed to go right, but I went left. You know what I mean? Like
And
these
then we don't judge it. It's like, yes, you went through some pain. Cool. That's part of being human. Like, we did come for that experience too. We didn't come to be happy all the time. That wouldn't be fun either. We came for the movement. Movement is life. We
yeah.
have to have this experience of high and lows, or else we would be, no matter if it was down here or up here, we'd be like this the whole time. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
come here for that either. We came here for the highs, the lows, and the everything in between.
Yeah, that's why my favorite definition of healing is being able to feel the full range of emotions. I love that definition because, yes, we talk a lot about being in peace and joy because we tend to look at those emotions as like afterthoughts or like nice to haves. And so I speak a lot about how this is like the point is to be able to experience these emotions, right, on a regular basis. But when I think about healing, it's being able to feel it all because the game, I think is like being able to feel your emotions without getting lost in them and see them as the
Yes.
GPS that they are.
Yes. When you know they're the GPS, then you're still driving the car, right?
Hmm.
You're like, okay, I could go this way, I could go that way, I could, who cares? I could feel pain for an entire let me just take the weekend because my pain comes up about 4 days before my period starts. And I let myself feel the
Hmm.
pain. If it's the little girl within me, if it's the pain for the woman I just, worked with, I don't care what it is. I'm letting myself feel it and I'm not judging it. And then when I don't want to feel it, I change it. It's that awareness that you are in the driver's seat and you are going to pick the emotion that you want to pick because I think it's all good. Literally, it's all for our good. We wouldn't have that emotion, because I see a lot of people judge. So men
Hmm.
judge pain.
Hmm.
They're not allowed to feel pain. Of course not. Women, I see a lot of my women judging anger. So
Hmm.
I'm like, we got to get that shit out. I want you
Hmm.
to get so fucking angry. I want you to scream
Hmm.
in a pillow. I want you to beat the shit out of the pillow. I want you to go scream in your car. Get it out of you. So
Hmm.
it's just like, just look at what you're resisting, what you're judging, and go all the way into it and just see what happens.
Yeah. It's not as scary as we've made it out to be. I mean, that's part of the walk into the feelings is we think that we'll never come out the other end, but you always will. You
That is so true.
yeah, you can't be
People
mad
think they're going to
forever.
get stuck in it, don't they?
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's why people don't go do it. Like I saw this great TikTok, this woman, I loved it. And I wish I knew her name. But she was like, "Let me show you what it looks like when you try to avoid feeling your feelings." She's like, she walks outside and it's raining. She goes, "This is what it's like." She covers her head with her hand, and she goes, "This is what it's like to not feel your feelings. The rain is still coming down, like, and I'm still getting wet." You're just like, and that's how it is. Like, we think that by avoiding our feelings, we're not really feeling them. And it's like, no, you're feeling them. You're just not using them for what they're supposed to be used for, which
Yeah.
is to help you understand. like the contrast to help you hone in on what you want, to like show you need to go left instead of right. Like that's why they're there. And yes, they're
And
uncomfortable.
to let you know what you're thinking about.
Right. Right. Yeah. It
Because some people are just on this loop. They're just on these loops of thinking, not thinking that thinking isn't doing something. Your thinking is creating. So you're just here on this like fear-based loop. Your emotions are letting you know, hey, you're thinking about some shit here. That's why you're feeling this way. You could
hmm
change it if you wanted, but you're like, no, I don't feel bad. I feel great. I feel great.
I feel
I
fine. I feel
love
fine.
my
That's
husband's
it.
like, I know when you don't feel good, even though you tell me you're fine. I'm like, all that means is I don't want to talk to you about it. Okay. I know I feel like shit, but I don't want to talk to you about it. Oh
Right.
my gosh, we've gone on so long. I'm sorry if you have stuff
No,
to do.
no,
We could
it's no,
talk
it was
for
great. It was
hours,
just
Dollface. We could talk for hours, couldn't we?
yeah. I was just laughing because I looked at it because speaking of relationships, I was just like making sure my kiddos are perfectly
Alive.
fine. No, but
What's
all of this is what I love about this conversation is that what is shared, it's all really practical. Like we think it's not, right? Like, oh, spiritual to heal. It's everything that you shared, it's extremely practical. And it's the most practical thing you can do is to feel your feelings and deal with your shadow work and you know what I mean? Like look at your victimhood. Like all of that is such practical advice. And the more
Yeah.
that we take it and do it instead of just listen, right?
Avoiding. Yes.
Avoiding, it moves us forward.
So tell everyone where they can find you.
Oh yes, I'm on the internet.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's good because
Yeah,
that's a big deal these days.
that's what they say. So I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Erica Ballard _. And then if you play the LinkedIn game, I get a little weird on LinkedIn.
Do you?
A little bit, a little bit.
Okay. What does that
Um,
mean?
like I say things that are inappropriate on LinkedIn.
Oh, then I definitely need your weirdness because I love inappropriate.
Okay, yeah. It's
I'm not a
TikTok.
PC girl.
Yeah, TikTok and Instagram, it's all allowed. LinkedIn, it's like, did you just talk about God on the like? Do you know like
Oh.
it's so? But I'm also on LinkedIn.
Oh, you mean like the profesh vibe, like only professional stuff here. We don't talk about
Mhm.
silly.
Silly.
Silly
Um,
Billy.
so yeah, I'm on all the socials, and you can find me at ericaballard.co too.
Beautiful. Well, I have enjoyed this conversation immensely.
Me
And
too.
thank you so much for coming on. We'll definitely do a part two.